I am not originally from Texas. I was raised in Indiana, and I went to college in Indiana, and I moved here a couple years ago. And I think that art is always something that I was interested in, and I really can't like narrow down exactly where it started, but yeah, I started making a long time ago. I've just always been interested in like finding things out. But yeah, I was raised in Indiana and have always been an athlete, and I've always been very competitive and very like interested in finding things out and creating and also figuring out like I don't know how things go together and just creative in that way. I mean, I don't remember exactly what it was, but I do remember like when my mom got me my first camera. And I also remember in middle school we had to take different types of creative classes, and one of them was a choir class. And I begged and begged and begged to take another art class, and so I took 2 trimesters of art instead of a choir class, and I painted Scream on a chair, and I just remember being like so excited because I was like, oh my gosh, I made something and you can like sit on it, but it's art. And so that's like what I remember the most was making that chair. So I remember in middle school learning about Wassily Kandinsky, and I remember being like, oh my gosh, and Van Gogh, and then all of the rumors around Van Gogh and all of his life. So but I remember Wassily Kandinsky was like a huge one because it's so abstract, and I'd never seen anything like it. I'm from a small town in Indiana. My family isn't like in the arts, so that was new information for me, and I was just like, oh gosh, this is so neat. So I do remember that's one of the first artists I remember being like really into. Well, I'd say I started out like a lot of kids, and we had to do everything. We were painting, we were sculpting with clay, we were doing all sorts of things like that. But my mom got me a digital camera, and I remember taking so many pictures. Like, I'm glad I don't know where those pictures live because I don't even know anything and everything I took a picture of. I had a younger sister, so she was most of the content that I was shooting. But so I think I fell in love with photography then. We had an amazing darkroom in high school, and I don't know where that came from, but I really got into it then. So photography was my main medium for years. And then once I went to college, we started learning about contemporary art and like things that don't necessarily fall into a category. And I think I was interested in things that are like outside of the box. So then I started working with different mediums, and then specifically kind of in sculpture. So the mix of 2D and 3D, I think, came too because my family's very hands-on. My dad's an electrician, my uncle's a contractor. So we really got to learn how to like make things and put things together. So it was like kind of taking 2D and 3D and figuring out how I can intertwine those. So yeah. So I started working at a place locally called Milestones, and we work with acrylic a lot. And I just thought it was such a neat, I really like clean lines, things that are really simple. And so with the acrylic, I really was drawn to that medium-wise just due to those aspects of it. But then with the idea behind Shower Thoughts I wanted to play off the idea that they always say the best thoughts come to you in the shower, and this one literally did come to me in the shower. I have very long hair, and instead of putting it down the drain when I was younger, I would always like ball it up and like put it on the side of the wall, which I have younger brothers and they thought it was disgusting. I don't think it's like cute, but I also don't think, I just did it. So I realized one day when I was looking at it, I was like, wow, like this composition is kind of cool. And so I took a picture of it, and it was weird. I was like, I don't know, the picture doesn't really do it justice. And so then I was like, well, how could I make this into a better composition? So I drew it basically. And then I came up with these. And so then after that, I decided that, oh, well, I wonder if other people put their hair on the side of the wall and like what theirs looks like. Like, do I lose more hair? Do they lose more hair? Like, is it more or less? Things like that. So that's kind of where this stemmed from, because it came to me in the shower. So yeah. I basically just put out on social media that I was doing this project and I wanted it to be collaborative. And I think as like an athlete and a team player, I always like yearn for this type of like cohesion and people working together to do something like that. And because I'm far from home, it was like the perfect project that allowed me to work with other people, and they didn't have to even be in the same place. So people from anywhere and everywhere that follow, I might have known from home, but they live wherever they live now. So I just pulled people and they sent me pictures of their hair, even though they thought it was weird and didn't know what I was going to do with it. And so, yeah, that's how all these compositions came about, through other people volunteering their hair. And I think the biggest aspect that I was like really interested in is like this art in everyday. We tend to think of like fine art and different things as this like high end about these, crazy topics. And I really want to like take it and make it accessible to anyone. Like, they look intricate and they look at these things, but then when you see it and you realize what it is, it's like, it's just hair. So I think those aspects in like art and everyday is something that I really like to play with too. Redrew all of them. So they're my interpretation of their drawing. For the most part, I stuck pretty close to like what they looked like, but yeah, I basically just like drew what they sent me. So I tried to keep it true to what they had. I might have like moved it around a little bit, different things like that. And some of them obviously were less, so that's why there's variance in like thickness and things like that. But I think it was fun to see that like the fine detail that you could actually get. And that's one thing with this medium and printing it on there, was that I could get like the super, super fine detail in these, which I really like to, you can actually go up and like really see the intricacies of it. It's kind of funny you say that, because I really do. And especially the people who were interested, it told me a lot about the people who were willing to volunteer, because it was like a very weird ask, like, hey, can you send me a picture of your hair on the shower wall? And they're like, this is so bizarre, but sure. And so I think that like some of them are, crazier, some of them are more tame. And I think some of them surprised me, because I was like, wow, this is like, I don't know. I think that people don't know they're making art every day. And I think that that was what I really enjoyed, is like I made compositions out of something you thought was just like something you'd throw away. So that was another part that was really fun. They're like, that's my hair? And I'm like, yeah, that's your hair. Isn't it neat? Like, you made this. I just kind of transferred it into something that was a, piece. So, yeah. I think that, like I said, with the everyday, I like to incorporate those types of things. But actually the reason why I won this show was for the piece with the balloons. And I think that those came from this place of like mixing two different things. Like, they're clean and they're simple, but they're also like these intricate kind of like confusing lines and things like that. So it's like putting those two things together, like the calm and the chaos. And the balloon was like tilting over, but it was in this like, white space that was clean and empty. So I like to mess with those types of things. And I think the graphic element really comes from my love of like female artists, specifically feminist artists of the 80s. They're very graphic. They like to use a lot of text, which I don't use in this, but the graphic nature of it is what I really like. So a lot of that is usually like the Barbara Krugers, Jenny Holzer, like those are the people that I really like to look at, because I just think that their work is so enticing, you can't help but want to look at it. So, yeah. But I feel like it's just living in the family that I lived in, I didn't realize how creative that they all were, and how they were, making things. And, my grandma, she knits and she sews and she does quilts and she does a lot of different things like that. She does a lot of interior design. And then I talked about my dad, who's an electrician, and my uncle's a contractor, and my papa worked in vinyl. And so I think that all of those things just, figuring out how to do it on my own, and also just trying to pay attention to the little things, I think is really what it is too. It's like, okay, it's almost like I'm solving a problem that no one asked for. Is like, okay, how do I take this thing, hair, and make it into something like intriguing and like thought-provoking? Same thing with the balloons. So it's like, okay, there's something here. Like, there's something that I need to solve. So I think just the asking a lot of questions, and asking questions that maybe no one even wants to know, but then they're like, oh, okay, that's kind of neat, actually. So I think that just being interested in life and interested in the things around you, I think definitely that's what quarantine taught us all. It's like, okay, how do we get creative in these times where we might be stuck inside, or we have this one room, or we have these very limited materials? So I think that that's one thing that has definitely influenced me.